Welcome to For Good Measure, an interview series celebrating diverse composers and other creative artists. I'm Nanette McGuinness, Artistic Executive Director of Ensemble for these times. In this week's episode, we continue our Da Capo Conversations, a mini-series where we'll be giving familiar segments a topical twist. Today we revisit Lucy Chen's and Isabelle Tseng's perspectives on what being a composer means to them. Here's what Lucy Chen had to say.
This is a question I thought about a lot, especially when I compose something and then it comes to life and I'm just like, wow, like this entire process was just so special. And I think just the position of being a composer is just like, to me, it's such an exciting person to be because you can basically bring like any story or emotion or a very big concept or even a minute detail like, oh, this piece is going to be about what two blades of grass sound like when they're next to each other. Like you can write about anything and make it something beautiful. And I think that is just such a special process. And I'm so grateful that I can kind of tap into this sort of process. And you can just bring all these little things or like big things to life, like ideas to life by writing different gestures and different instruments. And it's almost like an artist with a paintbrush. Since I do art too, I think it's a very similar process.
Mm-hmm.
And also in terms of if you're thinking about like tempered notes, like the same 12 notes, you can arrange them in infinite ways and they can sound like infinitely different and it'll all be very beautiful. So what draws me to composing is, first of all, that, and also just being able to write about my own voice and like my own experiences, whether that's just like me being with my friends or something that emotionally impacted me or my cultural experiences with my family, and just making a window through music to allow other people to feel how I feel about something. I think one of my most like special musical experiences was when I wrote this orchestra piece for my high school youth orchestra, and it was like adapted from like a Chinese folk story, and I'm Chinese, just to clarify, but but yeah, and then I kind of added in my own experiences in China and I melded all these feelings together. And also it was my senior year, so this was my last performance with this youth orchestra that I've been in for like 5 years. And all of that came together in this piece. And then when I rehearsed it with the orchestra and with the conductor that I also had gotten really close to, the final performance was just so like emotional. And it was so great being able to play with everyone because I got to play piano there too. So it was very cool because the piano's in the middle of the orchestra. So you get to hear everyone around you and you're like, wow, like this feeling is right now, like it's being shared by everyone. Everyone's playing together. We all know it's the last concert. And I think just experiences like that, it makes me remember how much I love composing and just how real of an emotional experience it can bring to everyone.
Here's what Isabelle Tseng had to say.
I think in a way, being a composer is a little bit more like finding exactly what. Okay, in one way, I think it's like a form of self-expression, and it's kind of like, what do I like? Let's say I have a piece about like a certain like walk in the woods I once had. Then I feel like it's about my story at that time and kind of how I want to convey that. And I feel like that, although that sounds like simple, a lot of times I'm sitting in front of the computer going like, these are just notes. Like these are just notes that somebody arbitrarily plays. And at some point they need to come together to make a mood. And I feel like it's kind of a slow exploration to kind of my own musical language. So like, how do I make this sound uniquely? Because yeah, sometimes we hear like a movie and then maybe we have an impression of what like a shark attack should sound like, right? Jaws.
Yeah, that will never be the same since Jaws. You're right.
Yeah, but like honestly, I feel each composer has their own musical language in a certain way. Like I was really inspired by like George Crumb at some point. I really really love George Crumb, and I feel like hearing his music, like the colors are like
strong,
very very strong. Yeah,
they're vivid. Yeah,
Yeah, very vivid. And I think like that is something I aspire to do. So composition for me has largely been at the current moment, like kind of finding my musical language, one, and two, finding what I want to express with my music and effectively like utilizing my musical language to do so.
Thank you for listening to For Good Measure's Da Capo Conversations, and a special thank you to our guests for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to our podcast by clicking on the subscribe button and support us by sharing it with your friends, posting about it on social media, and leaving us a rating and a review. To learn more about E4TT, our concert season online and in the Bay Area, or to make a tax-deductible donation, please visit us at www.e4tt.org. This podcast is made possible by grants from the California Arts Council, the San Francisco Arts Commission, Grants for the Arts, and generous donors like you. For Good Measure is produced by Nanette McGuinness and Ensemble for These Times and designed by Brennan Stokes, with special thanks to co-producer and audio engineer Stephanie M. Neumann. Remember to keep supporting equity in the arts and tune in next week for Good Measure.